Okay. You ready? Yeah, okay. So first of all, thank you everyone for coming back tonight. This is the second class in our mikvah series, brought to you by Neshei Chabad of Morristown, Mikvah Beis Chana, and mikvah.org. Tonight's class is Lili Neshmas Rebbe Melech Ben Tzvi Yaakov. It's a difficult week for our community, but we cannot cancel the class because the biggest chus for the Shamba is that we are all sitting here and learning. Thank you to America's Suite 302 for the broadcast to the shluchos. Thank you for everyone who participated in sponsoring this series, in the refreshments, in setting up, in manning the broadcast tonight. A reminder that courtesy of mikvah.org, you have a complimentary mikvah checklist. If you didn't get yours, you can come to the table afterwards and pick one up. Reminder as well, last week we learned about the calendar and the importance of having a written record. You can use the online calendar, of course, as convenience for making sure you have halacha calculations and reminders, but it's important to keep a written record, and the calendars are available for sale at the table, along with the digest, which is a short summary of halachos for you to review all the time, and the mikvah meditations, which is a beautiful book about the hashkafa of mikvah. I'd also like to remind everybody that the proceeds of the sale does benefit our mikvah, so if you were planning to buy it next week, next month, it would be a wonderful time to buy it while you're here. Also, a big commendation to everybody for coming out tonight. I know it's not easy to come out at night. It was the Rebbe's Bakasha Nafshis that women review the halachos of Tahara Mishpacha at least once a year. We are so fortunate to everyone who helped collect money for us to be able to do this in Morristown. We're a small community, and it's not easy necessarily to pull the resources together for us to have speakers speak to us live and coming from New York, top presenters in their field, and we're really fortunate to have them here, and so kudos to everyone for making it out. Tonight, the halachos of Niddah, Hefsek, Tahara, and Shiva Nikim by Mrs. Sarah Morazov. She is a top halakha teacher in Crown Heights, and without any further ado, I'm going to pass the mic over to her.
Okay, could this be on the floor? The table. Okay, fine.
And it's going to go here.
Okay, so because we have a lot to cover, I'm going to have to practice very big self-control. No stories, no jokes, no hashkafa, just like the main course without the side dishes. So this is a little like I'm a teacher and I'm a little puzzled because am I supposed to look to the right or to the left? You know the little old lady who couldn't fall asleep, turn the shades up to the shades. Whoever reads, maybe it's a storybook of 20 years ago. Do you remember the story? Oh, you're reading that story? What? Oh no. So what should I do? I should face straight ahead. So then you have to smile the entire time and nod. Smile and nod. Okay. No, I feel so funny. If I can't do it. So I'm sorry. No, but I have to face the camera, so sorry. Okay, in order to understand, we're going to learn first what makes a woman Nida. So what makes a woman Nida? To understand what makes a Nida, here, I don't know if you remember biology from 9th grade. You ever wonder? So now we're going to do the halachic aspect of it, okay? This is the uterus, the cavity, the womb, okay? That's always ready to hold a potential baby, or the baby itself. The cervix, okay? The cervix is the opening, the narrow opening of the womb, like the hallway, entrance hallway into the womb. And then the cervix, there's also the outer part of the cervix, okay, that you see over here. This is the vagina. Here's where you do a Bedika. Intercourse takes place here, okay? And then you have the lips out here. What makes a woman Nida? Any blood that originates from inside the uterus, or even inside, in the inner, already when you're part of the inner tunnel, the inner cervix or the uterus, any blood that originates from here and drips into here, into the vagina, already makes a woman Nida. But if the blood originates from the outer cervix, just the outer skin, okay, or the vaginal walls, or it originates from the lips, is not Nida blood. Okay, now that we know this piece of information, we will take it further. Okay, so what makes a woman Nida? Okay, so here I'm going to try not to do it by heart because I'm afraid I'm going to forget some details. Just hold on. Okay, so now that we learned the rule that any blood that originates from the uterus and enters the vagina makes a woman Nida, Okay, this doesn't matter. It's regardless if you're pregnant, if you're nursing, if you're single, if you're married. You're in the state of Niddah when that happens until we tovel kahalacha. Okay? So what are some ways that a woman can become Niddah? Number one, it's your period. If you see your period came, you're Niddah. Finished. Story's over. You're Niddah. You don't have to guess. Another way a woman can become Niddah is, if I wrapped a clean Bedika cloth around this finger, any finger for that matter, and I wiped my vagina in here, and I take it out, and there's even a speck of a non-kosher color, red, black, or otherwise, on this Bedika cloth, even a tiny speck, it's Niddah d'iraisa. It's Niddah min ha-Torah, because we assume if blood is over here in the vagina, that it originated from up here, from the uterus. That is where blood normally comes from. That's the normal chazaka. That's how women find blood in the vagina normally, that it originated from the uterus, okay? Now, if you have reason to believe that perhaps the blood that you find in the Bedika cloth or the non-kosher color, we're going to use the word blood, but we really mean any non-kosher color. That's really the halachic accurate term. Okay, so if you have reason to believe that this unkosher color on your Bedika cloth originated from someplace else, not from the uterus, perhaps you thought you had a scratch, you had a wound, there was something going on the outer cervix, you have reason to believe so, you cannot just take matters in your own hands. And it's not a guessing game. Because this Bedika cloth, what's another name of a Bedika cloth? Aid. What does an aid mean? A witness. So you had a witness, bearing witness that there's blood in the vagina. Okay? What do you need now to undo that witness? A halachic witness. Okay? A halachic witness has to say, I see blood coming from someplace else. Or I see that perhaps earlier blood could have come from this sore, this scratch, this irritation, although right now it's not bleeding, but I could assume that 5 hours ago or a day ago that could have happened. Let the halachic witness, it could be a frum person, it could be a frum doctor, there are nurses, I don't know if Morristown has a Bedika. No, so you have to go to Muncie. Okay, so it's a good job. One of you can learn to be a Bedika. I think it'll be a great service for this wonderful community that avoid one extra schlep. All the schlepping could make you a little, okay? Anyways, is a Bedika a paisek? What is she a witness, a aid. The doctor is a witness, the Bedika is a witness. You have to take her testimony and then transfer all the information to the Rav. Now, not everybody can go to Bedika whenever they feel like or want to, right? You can call the Rav and say, I feel I hurt myself, I think, I feel. That may be sometimes okay. Don't assume it's not okay. So you have any reason to believe that the blood on your Bedika cloth or the non-kosher discharge on your Bedika cloth came from someplace else, definitely ask a Rav. But never take matters in your own hands because it's Niddah d'iraisa. You can't just ignore it. You can't just dismiss it just at a whim or a guessing game. Okay? So that is about blood on a color on a Bedika cloth. Now we're going to talk a little bit about colors. What color is a Niddah color and what color is a kosher color? So this is red. Okay? This red is Niddah. Black is Niddah. However, black can often be a little tiny piece of hair, a little piece of lint, a little piece of dirt or something or another. Now, if you're sure it's hair, it's not a shaila. If you see hair, it's not a shaila. But if you don't know what it is, don't start playing around with it. It pays to ask a shaila because it may be totally kosher even though the color is black. Okay? White is totally fine from the halachic perspective. Of course, from the medical perspective, it's itchy. You may have a yeast infection or it's a cottage cheese consistency. So we're going to talk here halacha. Again, green is totally fine. Yellow, lemon-colored yellow, ester-colored yellow, pure yellow is a totally fine color. It's healthy for a woman to have a vagina that keeps discharging, keeping itself clean. Yellow is totally fine halachically. Okay, so he said white, green, and yellow is totally fine. Again, if you always see green, it may be a little infection. You may want to check it out, but for halachic, it's fine. Blue is fine halachically. Now, I want to just do a little survey. Sorry for my interruption. I'm just taking 10 seconds. Raise your hand if you ever created blue. I just want to know. Great. I want to speak to you after. Amazing. It's the first time I get a yes. This is like history. What? I don't mean that. I mean blue discharge. But blue was kosher, so it wasn't even a shaila. No, I want to have blue discharge, like with all the food coloring. Didn't happen. What? No, it says in halacha that blue is fine. I just want to know the mitzias, the reality. Do women create blue? I just want to learn new things. Okay, so that's about blue. Now, all the brown girls, young ladies, shh, all the browns, all the oranges, all the pinks, all the off reds, all the grays are the shailas. Okay? Now, let's talk a little bit about shailas. I think it's important to know about shailas. Okay? We're just facts. How do we ask a shaila? On a colored discharge on a Bedika cloth. The Rav does not want that the discharge should land on the tissue that you put the Bedika cloth, that you wrap the Bedika cloth in, or neither on the envelope. You understand? So either you could fold it in itself in a way that the discharge stays within, or you wait till it dries before you put it in the envelope. Feedback from, now I'm in touch with multiple Rabbanim, so you're going to have to ask your own Rav his preference. Whenever I say, some say this, some say that. Many Rabbanim I speak to do not like Ziploc bags. They say that it makes the Bedika cloth or the underwear can't breathe properly. It can make it moldy. It could turn other colors. So paper, they prefer paper. But if your Rav doesn't mind Ziploc, fine with you. I'm just saying, ask your Rav. The Bedika cloth, when you send a shaila to the Rav, so make sure that you put your phone number very nice and clear. Women complain and the Rav doesn't call me back. And the Rabban claim I call back, but it is the wrong phone number. If the 7 looks like a 1 and the 8 looks like a 3, please don't blame the Rav. Also, I don't know how it works here in Morristown, but you have to, there are certain, let's say if there's a base in a certain Rabbanim, they're always there, or if they're not there, they know women will ask shilas every day. They will send a daily substitute if they're not there personally, if they're out of town for their child's wedding or whatever. But if you're ever mailing a Bedika cloth somewhere because you're on shlichus and it's easier to mail it than to actually bring it, please call the Rav in advance to find out if he's home and what kind of mailing he prefers. I don't know what goes on here in Morristown, but I could tell you in Crown Heights. There's USPS, there's FedEx that becomes USPS, that packages just don't arrive, and you have to go to the post office to pick them up, and such a hassle. Maybe UPS is better, or priority. Don't just ship something off in the mail blindly thinking the Rav is getting it because maybe he's not home, maybe it's not a good shipping service. And a Rav wants to see it as soon as possible. Sometimes as soon as possible isn't practical, but if it's a yontif or something, within 3 days for sure within 3 days. So even if you have to send or mail things in, you say, let me wait till the end of the week. Maybe my shilas will pile up and I'll save myself the $25 of the overnight express. No, you got to send them in a timely fashion, and usually within 3 days. If you think the Rav won't notice what's on the Bedika cloth, don't write on it with a pen. Arrow, here's the shaila. If you have to actually point it out with an arrow, chances are it's not even anything that is even a shaila in the first place. But if rather describe it on a paper or something, if you have further information about it, rather than actually writing on a Bedika cloth. I'm just giving you feedback from Rabbanim. It could be none of you ever did this before. So it's important also that the Rav knows where you did a Bedika. There was a reason for that. So when is the shaila? Is it for a Hefsek Tahara, for Shiva Nikim, when you're expecting your period, etc. Exactly when the shaila is, because it will help with, sometimes they're lenient, sometimes they're more strict. In addition, when you have a shaila, if you are in a pregnancy, if you're in the first 3 months, it's different than if the next 6 months. If you're within 24 months after childbirth, there's some leniencies, but if you got your period already, there's a different set of circumstances. So the Rav should know what your circumstance is. The Rav is not a Navi. Do you want the Rav to be a Navi? I don't think so. Okay, well he isn't. So he needs the facts. If he gets the fuller picture, he could have a better psak.
So does it work that if you don't give information, they just assume that it's what?
I don't know. Speak to your rabbi. If he never asked you, he needs more information, then maybe he just does his own method.
Sometimes it, lands in the hands of someone I don't know.
Okay, maybe we should leave questions for the end, but that's, if you want to know information about that, ask your Rav how he prefers. I'm just giving you feedback from some Rabbanim. If they see the whole picture, they could have more facts to weigh when they decide. I also want to tell you that sometimes if you have an unclean Bedika cloth, you have to put it on your calendar. So whenever you have a shaila and a Bedika, sometimes the Bedika is no good, and sometimes it even has to go on the calendar. So when you put the information on the envelope, always add, does this need to go on the calendar? Now, if you're asking a shaila in underwear, now we're talking about asking shailas, I want to say some women do not like to drop off their whole underwear to the Rav or bring it personally, so they cut the crotch and they put it in the envelope. You have to specify that this was found on an underwear, that this little piece of white material was not used as a Bedika, because we know there's differences, vast differences in halacha if this stain was found on a Bedika cloth versus a piece of underwear. The Rav, shouldn't have to kind of be a prophet in this way. And also, if you're actually dropping off your underwear at the Rav and you're not bringing it personally, the question is, how do you want to get it back? And if you plan not to get it back, you have to give him permission to dispose of it, according to most Rabbanim. Because I've got feedback from Rabbanim that there is, I guess, at least one opinion that they can't throw it out. They have to keep it till Sheikh comes or something. I don't know what. So you have to write, you can throw it. Now, I didn't confer with the Rav in Morristown. I'm just saying differences of opinion, just from the different Rabbanims that I deal with. You understand what I'm saying? So it could be it's a non-issue, according to his opinion, but this is just feedback that I ask Rabbanim what I should share with a woman. Okay? Another way a woman could become Nida is called kinuach. What does it mean, kinuach? Dessert. Dessert, right. Because the dessert is the ice cream that wipes down the chont. Kinuach means a wipe, in this halachic sense. So kinuach is if a woman will wipe herself with toilet paper, okay? You wipe yourself with toilet paper, okay? So am I going inside the vagina for real? Not really. But can I have somewhat wiped at the entrance of the vagina? Or very real. So here's a question: if wiping with toilet paper is more like doing a Bedika, that would be Nida d'oraisa, or the toilet paper is more of an external situation, which would have the leniencies of the laws of stains, kesem, stains, kesamim. We Chabad paskin stringently that toilet paper will be a serious issue. Any blood, any color discharge found on toilet paper is a shaila, and it could make you Nida, the full Nida, 5 and 7 days in all. In other communities, the psak is differently, that it would be judged more like a stain, which would be if there's colored toilet paper, for sure there's leniency, etc. But for Chabad, we're more strict, unless your Rav tells you differently. And therefore, we suggest not to keep looking on toilet paper, because you may make yourself Nida for no reason. Because if you didn't notice it and you didn't feel anything, then it's not you'll be fine. You'll still be Tahara. But as soon as you see something on toilet paper, you have to deal with it. You may want to flush the toilet before you stand up. You may want to wear sunglasses when you go to the bathroom. You may want to have other ideas not to be in the situation that you want to wipe. You should definitely invest in a case of flushable wipes if you want to feel clean. So you don't have to check. You could probably assume that you're clean. But here's the thing. The first time you wipe yourself with toilet paper and you notice something added, that's one level of a shaila. But then some women are tempted, let me just check again. Now that second check is a real serious thing, because you checked on purpose. You understand? So that is really more serious. At least don't check twice. Never check once, but for sure not twice. Now, if for medical reasons you have to know if you're bleeding and you do have to look, ask your Rav what to do. Okay? Some women need to know. You ask your Rav what to do. Okay? There's no one size fits all over here. Okay? But in general, blood on toilet paper is a shaila. Obviously, if you suffer from hemorrhoids and you're constipated or whatever, you have reason to believe that the blood came from someplace else, all that information is very important, because the Rav will try to figure out the whole situation. Okay? Now, it happens that women sometimes, they flush the toilet and they meant not to look, but when they stood up and they looked into the toilet, and as it was flushing down, they think they saw, and it was, but it wasn't, and you can't catch it, and it disappeared. And what do we do now? You cannot ignore it. You have to ask a shaila. Now, one more thing I want to say about asking shaila. See, so till now, it was a Bedika cloth we could have deposited in the Rav's mailbox. There's no personal contact. When it comes to these kind of things already, there's so much around the circumstance, right? It's important that you have a Rav that you feel you could ask your shailas without any hesitation, okay? It's important. Now, if there's some Rabbanim nowadays that you could email or WhatsApp the entire shaila, and he'll call you back. A Rav usually doesn't answer, by email. But at least you said the whole entire story about this toilet paper, and you just wrote it down, and you wrote all the circumstances. And what could be helpful about that is that sometimes We ask a shaila, and then we hang up, we say, ooh, I forgot to tell him I'm pregnant. Actually, I'm not sure if I told him I'm pregnant, which is an important piece of information for a leniency. And you have to call back, and he doesn't answer, and is busy, and then you don't know if you're Nida or not, or whatever. So I guess if you write it all out, at least before you call, or if you could actually email or WhatsApp it and he gets back to you, it might be more convenient. I'm not saying it's a must. I'm just saying how make it easier for ask those shailos. You must have a rov that you feel comfortable to work with. Even if your husband's asking the shaila for you, but he should have all the information. Not all husbands are very savvy with these words, discharge, vagina, I felt it, a sensation, and all these, some are and some aren't. You have to make sure if he's asking the shaila, he has all the proper information. Now, in the olden days, a rov used to actually be paid. The community was taxed and they supported the rov. I don't know how it works here in Morristown, but definitely you'll feel much better taking a rov's time when you pay for the services. What service do we get for free nowadays? Let me know. No freebies. What? What's that? Okay. You paid for a phone plan or something. Okay? So, it's important that you feel comfortable with this rov. And if you don't feel comfortable, find another one. But you never go rov shopping. Once you find your rov, stick with the rov. Now, I will tell you, stick with the rov for another reason. Some people do go rov hopping. Today I'll call this rov, tomorrow that one, the other one. I'm scared to call rov, so I'm just going to try anyone. It's like instead of having a proper pediatrician or a proper obstetrician, you kind of go to the clinic, one day you see this one, that one, the other one, and one doesn't know from the other, Like this, if you go to a certain rov, he has an understanding of who you are, if you should be strict, if you should be lenient, what you're looking for, and when more sensitive shailas come up, it's the same thing like a doctor, I go to a doctor, they know I don't like medicine. The last thing on my mind is to give my kid medicine, So they'll try everything else, And if I trust already this doctor, they're prescribing a medicine, it means it's time already. Like, we tried everything, please, okay? And there's a certain trust over there. Whereas the other woman is like, please, I have to go to work. Give my kid medicine today just because I just can't stay off from work. So the doctor's there to please, this mother, let's say, and we'll just say, fine, here's a prescription. So here it is, to keep Tahara Mishpacha. The only way you could do it properly is to have a good relationship with the Rav. Okay? So that's all said and done. So that's about the toilet paper. So another way a woman could become Nida is through finding a stain, a kesem. Now, how does halacha define a stain? A stain is something that's found on an external surface. That means you didn't wipe inside the vagina with this. There was no wiping. It was found on one step under. It could be anywhere that it could have come from your vagina, uterus, vagina, and out. So underwear, it could be a slip, it could be any garment that would have come in contact with that area. It could be a bath towel, a bathrobe, bedding, sheets, okay? Or your body. Where on your body? Not your nose, unless you were doing a somersault and your nose was without underwear and your nose was touching whatever. So you have to think practically. It could be between your legs. It could be on your finger. Maybe when you were wiping in the bathroom, your finger, picked up some of the discharge that didn't land on the toilet paper, for example, okay? So you didn't go on the inside and you find a color, of a non-kosher variety on one of these surfaces, okay? What do we do then? So for a woman to become Nida from a stain, from a kesem, 3 conditions must be present. All 3, not 1 or 2 or 3. 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals Nida. And if any of those conditions are not there, she's still Tahara. And this is another thing we have to explain, we have to understand as women. We're not asking ourselves, where did this stain come from? That's not the question. The question is, does this equation equal Nida, or does this equation equal Tahara? It happens to be that the laws of Tumah and Tahara are not necessarily based on logic at all. It's a chayk. And you could say, what's the difference if the stain is on white underwear? The exact same stain in the exact same spot. And here my underwear is white, and here my underwear is pink. What difference does it make, white or pink? I think I know where it could have come from. Where else could it have come from if not straight down here onto my underwear? The question is not where it came from, etc. The question is, does this equation make me Nida, or does this equation still keep me Tahara? Okay? What are those 3 conditions? Number 1, the stain has to be found on a white surface. Okay, we're not talking about the body. A stain found in the body, your body's not white, it can make you nida. We're talking about any other surface. If it's found on a white surface, it could. One minute. We're talking about a white color. We'll soon talk about toilet seats. Yeah, white. If the surface has to be white. If the surface is colored, it does not make tummy. Okay? In halacha, there are two colors. There's white and there's colored. Colored means anything other than white. So if it's found on white, it could make tummy. If it's found on colored, it will not. And therefore, hold on. I'd like to maybe leave the questions a little later because it may be answered. And therefore, Chachamim suggest that women should wear colored garments so that they will avoid the shailas of stains, except for the 7 clean days when you must wear white. Colored means any color. Now, sometimes in patterns there are some white dots and lines and things. You may go into shailas if that happens, because you'll have to ask if it's partially on white and partially uncolored. So if you want to avoid all shailas, make sure the pattern is completely colored, both the outside and the inside. Okay? Now, some people suggest using black underwear. There is a big controversy by Rabbanim if black underwear should be used b'chlal. And some will say it could be used generally, but not if you're expecting your period or at a time where you have to know if stains are arriving. So it used to be, again, when I taught this a while ago, it wasn't as I'm saying now, but this is a change that has come up in the last 2 years for sure, that if you want to use black, where you won't see anything, ask your Rav if he's totally okay with it, and I will let you know there's like totally no, stay away from it, and totally okay, and somewhere in between. Your Rav will have to tell you, also based on different circumstances, okay, about using black. Some people who suffer from anxiety, the Rav may suggest to use black. They shouldn't notice little things, because we can say, look, I see the blood on my pink underwear. Like, don't touch me, husband, halachically, you're Tahara. There's no reason to be concerned. But if you suffer from some of that, the Rav should know about it. He may say, listen, I'd rather you don't notice little things, because between you and me, women will know, even if it's not black, if there's really something coming out, you'll notice it even on black. Unless you wear very plush underwear, I don't know, but, okay? So that is about black, okay? A second condition is that the size of the stain. If the size of the stain is smaller than what halacha calls a gris, which we call an American dime, okay? You could ignore it. It does not make tummy. If the size of the stain is the size of a gris or larger, it can make tummy. Now, stains don't normally come in perfect circles. So there is a sefer from Rabbi Jacobs. He has a paper there in the index, and the appendix, of the surface area of the size of a gris, that surface area, but in different shapes. So you can have an idea if you could ignore this, or this is something that may be problematic. Another important piece of information is that the stains if they're not joined together, they don't add up. So each stain is judged separately. Is this a gris? Is this a gris? Is this a gris? But if they're connected, then they do add together. Of course, if you had a fold in your underwear, and you know the stain, it was one stain that you unfolded the underwear, and that's why it's separated, you have to ask a Rav. If, like, when it's folded, it's the full gris, and when you unfold it, because you know clearly that it was definitely folded when that stain appeared, ask a shaila about that as well, okay? On your body, any size is a shaila, even a speck. If you notice a speck of blood on your body where it could have come from your private place, you have to ask a shaila. The tiniest amount is a shaila. I also want to add that because the laws of stains are less severe, they're less strict, it's d'Rabbanan, not d'Oraisa. So also the colors, a color on a Bedika cloth would be very strict. On an underwear, there are more leniencies. So don't assume that you had a huge brown stain with red in the middle. Not always is all the browns part of the size of the gris of the red. You understand? So if it's mostly brown and some red, don't assume it's no good, even if it's very big. It always pays to ask a shaila when it comes on underwear, because sometimes you think that a lot more of that surface is a no-no versus what's a real no-no may actually be less than the size. So ask. Now, another point I want to ask is if you don't like to keep driving to the Rav for all the shailas or mailing, you could get an education. If you would go personally to the Rav and say, explain this to me. If I see this again, can I take matters in my own hands? Or this shaila, I always do my Hefsek Tahara, let's say in day 5, this is always a questionable color. And it always seems to come out, you always seem to say it's okay. So next time, could I just, if I match, can I say it's okay, or do you still want me to bring this in? Or if you always say it's not okay, should I just not even bother? Like, should I just take matters in my own hands? You can have a little bit training, or your husband, if you want to narrow down what your shailas really are. And then there's going to be absolute shailas that only a Rav is trained to answer, with, of course, the siyata d'shmaya that a Rav has. Okay? The third thing that has to be in place for the stain to make a woman tameh, so you have to have white, and it has to be bigger than the size, a gris or bigger. The third thing is that the surface that the stain is found has to be, the surface has to be something that can become tameh. It's mekabel tumah, it can become halachically impure. Any garment is mekabel tumah. It doesn't matter what the garment is made out of. If you have a synthetic bathing suit, a nylon bathing suit with a white crotch, because it became a garment, it could be mekabel tumah. So a garment is mekabel tumah. Sheets, towels are mekabel tumah. And therefore we suggest don't have a white bath towels or white bathrobes if you wipe yourself and you touch yourself or whatever, because it could be shailas. What are the shailas if it's mekabel tumah or not? Pads and panty liners. Big shailas. Are they mekabel tumah? Are they not mekabel tumah? Okay? Now here's the thing. Sometimes we do want to use for how do you say, hygiene or for safety, some protection. So there is a big debate out there by Rabbanim. Some women used to use black panty liners because what's available now is white uncolored. So if you use black panty liners, at least you won't become tameh from little things or because it's uncolored. But then some people really miss, because those panty liners now are very absorbent. You could almost like not even know, and it could go right through to the layer underneath. There are bottom now that are actually forbidding women to use black panty liners because they may not notice things that they should have noticed, because by the time they notice, it's not much more than a little stain. So ask your Rav what he holds about those black panty liners that are sold. Some Rabbanim would prefer if there was pink panty liners. I don't know of their existence yet, and maybe that's something that should be created. White panty liners, some may be mekabel tumah and some not. So if you want to just use white panty liners, you may want to speak to your Rav about it. What's preferable? Black panty liners, white panty liners, etc. Okay, so this comes shailas. Is a toilet seat mekabel tumah, a toilet bowl, the water in the toilet bowl, the bathtub. I was in the bathtub and I stood up and there was like bloody mucus floating over in the water, not on the water. Okay, so all these surfaces, yes, some of them can be mekabel tumah, some are not, but these are shailas that come up, and you have to ask a Rav if you find any mucusy or bloody or air discharge that's questionable if these things come up. Now, let's tie this all in together. So here's the thing. And we're going to do this both ways. So I had a white underwear, so it's white, it's underwear, so it's mekabel tumah. On my white underwear, in my 7 clean days, I found a blood stain, and it's bigger than the size of a dime. Am I absolutely tameh no matter what? And the answer is hold on and think. In the laws of stains, we should think, can we attribute the stain to something else? Where could this stain have come from? Ooh, I went for a bikini wax, and boy, was that lady rough. I know from the past there's always a little, and now she was a little more rough, and I see this, okay? Or, I noticed I have terrible eczema. It's such cold weather. I had a cut on my finger. Come to think of it, where I noticed this stain on my underwear, it could very well have come from my finger when I pulled my underwear up, for example. So even if you find a stain on a white underwear, don't assume automatically that's no good. If you have reason to believe that it came from someplace else, this is what you do. Do you connect the dots yourself? No. Ask a Rav. And then ask a Rav, if this happens again, do I have to call you back? Or if the same situation happens, I could take matters in my own hands. Now, obviously, if you see a nosebleed right on your white sheet, did you see it? Okay, it's not a shaila. We're talking about if I didn't see it, if I have to start putting 2 and 2 together. Because the laws are very complex, and it's not always logical. It has to do with laws, like equations, okay? So always ask a shaila, because even if you find more than the amount on the white, etc., it could be that you could say because it was from someplace else, you could still be tahar. Okay, so think. Now let's do the other way around. So does that mean on my colored underwear, I keep finding stains on and on and on? And they could be bigger than this size or smaller than the size, but because it's in a colored surface, right, I'm still tahar, because only if it's on a white surface will I be tamei. So if I'm staining on a colored surface, am I tahar forever? Now, I want to just say that I really should say tahira. A woman is never tahar. She's only tahira. But because when the book was written originally, this Kitzur Tahara, everything was in the male version, tahar, so I'm so used to it, so I'm using tahar, but it's grammatically incorrect, okay? But I'm sorry about that, it's just habit. So getting back to here. So on my pastel underwear, on my blue underwear, on my pink underwear, my whatever, I keep seeing stains. So am I tar, or what? And the answer is, in these four situations, you must ask a shaila if you're still tahar, even if you see stains on a colored surface. And what are those situations? Number one, if it's when you're expecting your period. So is this a surprise? Because a stain usually comes by surprise. Is this a surprise? Here, hey, wait a minute, maybe it's the beginning of my period. And if it's sometimes the Rav, and different opinions about if the beginning of your period was just stains, if it makes you Niddah or not, your Rav will tell you. So if it's when you're expecting your period, that's number one. Number two, it wasn't just a stain, it already leaked through to the next garment. Through my underwear to my pajamas, through my underwear to my pantyhose, or something like that, then it's not just a little stain, it's something more than a stain if it's already leaking through. Ask a Rav if this is still considered a mild stain or is this considered like a mini flow of some sort, okay? And in this would be included if it wasn't just a stain, you had a blob of mucus tinged with blood. So it's a blob, it's not just a stain, ask a shaila. Number three, you felt unusual wetness. You felt unusual wetness. That, hey, like what is this happening to my body, okay? Ask a shaila if it's an unusual wetness that you feel and then you see a stain on your underwear. So here it may be associated with a feeling of something coming out of you and you may be Nida because you had an unusual feeling of wetness. And number four, if it's repeated, it just keeps happening more and more and more and more. Is this like a mini flow of a tiny little period or is this considered tahar? And there are differences, vast differences of opinion when it comes to these matters and therefore you'll have to ask a shaila about what you are and what status you are, okay? Now, I just want to add that if there's even a shaila, all the dinei harchaka apply. You have to act as if you're Nida until the Rav tells you your status, even if it's a maybe. It's not like maybe Nida, maybe not. Even if it's a maybe, all the rules of harchaka apply, and then when you find out what status you are, either you have been keeping them properly from the first moment that you were Nida, as you were supposed to, or they're absolved because you're really Tahara. Okay, so those are the laws of stains. I want to give you I want to mention another few points about stains. When you see a stain, do not do a Bedika. It's like mixing milchiks and fleishiks. Okay, do not do a Bedika. If you have repeated staining, there's something going on with your body. So don't ignore it. Fluky things can happen. If you stain once or twice, strange things happen, move on with life. If you're going through a hormonal shift and they're staining, meaning you go on some hormonal therapy, birth control, different ways, or go off it, staining is normal, so nothing to fret about. You may want to speak to your medical professional how to tweak the dosage if it's ongoing, too much, that you're needed for a long time, okay? But if you're totally healthy and no hormonal changes and you keep finding stains, okay, just be careful because you want to make sure that you are healthy. So you'll go for a doctor's visit to rule out that it's nothing, no polyp, no fibroids, nothing else that's something mechanical that's producing the staining, and then you could decide how you want to treat it. Some people are very into herbs. There are many herbal things that could restore hormonal imbalances and be balanced again, which are terrific. But sometimes people wait too long to actually see if there's something physical that's going wrong, and they've tried all kinds of herbs and all kinds of natural remedies, and they still didn't work. And by the time they go to the doctor to actually take a look and see is there anything actually happening with my uterus that's causing the staining, it could be more complex than it would have been treated a long time ago. So on one hand, I'm telling you, don't fret. People have stains all the time, and it could be totally harmless. But if it's ongoing and repeated, and there's no logical reason for this to happen, have it checked out, because there's something going on with your body that's causing this to happen. And hopefully you'll go for nothing. And if there's something physical, the doctor will have to take care of it. And if there's something hormonal, it could be your choice if you want to use natural remedies to restore balance or medical stuff, whatever it is. There are different options. There is an organization of from Rabbanim and from doctors, and there's trained a from group of women to help advise women what to do with staining situations or what kind of birth control to use if a Rav gives you a heter. It's called torashamishpacha.com. So Toras, T-O-R-A-S, Hamishpacha, H-A-M-I-S-H-P-A-C-H-A. They have a 1-800 number. They have in Israel, in Europe, and here in America. Yes? No. I have to stand. Put my feet together. Whenever I push my hands, so I have to mamish stand like this. Come on. Okay, can I do like this? Toras Hamishpacha, Torashhamishpacha.com. It's you'll find there the 1-800 numbers and their hours when to call in Israel, Europe, and America. Okay, I'll repeat it in the end, okay? Don't worry. You won't leave without having it written, okay? We'll pass it on. Why? They're dedicated to help women resolve staining issues because here's the thing. You're not being machmir by making yourself Nida forever. If you have an ongoing Nida status, you must speak to a Rav because you're not being frummer by doing all the Bedikas and never getting to the mikvah and having to start your count over and over and over and over again. You understand? So if your extended Nida status is making you feel already like, this is crazy, you speak to your Rav about it because halachically, Torah has conflicting values almost. On one hand, you're supposed to fast on Yom Kippur. On the other hand, you still have to take care of your health. Which one overrides which? A Rav will decide. You're not supposed to embarrass your friend, but you can't shake a man's hand either. So there's halachos, which value is the one we practice at the moment. So on one hand, we have to keep Tahara and Shpach, we have to do all the Bedikas, etc. That's halacha. On the other hand, abstaining for extended periods of time is not healthy either. It's not good for a marriage. So that is what a Rav is for. If it's getting hard, or maybe some people say it's never hard, chas v'shalom. I'm not giving you a framework of time, of weeks, etc., or months, or whatever, but the Rav is there because maybe for you it's better, al pi halacha, to do less bedikas or things like that. At least you could get to the mikvah sooner. Okay? A woman should never suffer unnecessarily of having extended Nida status. This website is there to try to solve the issue, resolve the problem. There's ways that things can be resolved. Okay, another way a woman could become tameh is, so here we said that a stain, right, will make Nida only if those three conditions are present. In a different category, and I'm not going to go to halachic background, is if any blood is found in urine, you always have to ask a shaila. Any blood after intercourse is always a shaila, even if it's on a colored surface. Okay? And therefore, for hygiene, if you want to use, something, make sure it's dark if you're going to look at it. If you're not going to look at it, who cares? But if you're that type that has to look at everything and whatever, then make sure it's dark so you won't notice anything, okay? It could be on even a garment, anything. But if it's right after intercourse, it is a shaila. It does not have the halacha of stains. Even if it's on a colored surface, you have to ask a shaila. And so too, anything that's inserted in the vagina, and you take it out and you find bloody discharge on it or unkosher color, it is a serious shaila, even if you think the object is not makabel tuma or it is on a colored surface. That does not apply once something has been inserted. For example, if you use applicators for medication, for creams, or sometimes certain types of birth control, a diaphragm or something, rinse it off before you look at it, okay, in order to avoid shailas. Okay, so anything that goes in does not have the leniencies at all of a stain. Okay, another way a woman can become Nida is called hargasha. And what does it mean? I want to explain this. Hargasha means that it used to be when a woman got her period, or her uterus began to discharge blood, she would have a distinct total body feeling that now my period has begun. It wasn't just cramps, I think, I feel, I maybe, but it was like, ooh, this is the moment that it's happening. And what did she do at that moment? She went to do a Bedika to see, because if it wasn't her, it for sure was her period, but if it wouldn't be her period, she had to attribute this feeling to some other kind of strange discharge that's not normally found in her vagina, that's what her uterus had released with that feeling that went along with it. So she would have done a Bedika, and she would have found something unusually thick or strange or different of a kosher color, and she'd say, oh, that's why I felt the feeling. That's what my uterus discharged. It wasn't my period. But if she hadn't found something to attribute this feeling to, she would be Nida regardless, because a woman only got her, that's how normally a woman got her period. She had this feeling. So if she had this feeling, it means for sure blood was released. If it wasn't blood, prove to me that it was something else. Now this is very rare. This true hargasha, which is Niddah d'oraisa, is very rare. It's very rare. Very, very rare. So if you have this, you ask your Rav a shaila what to do. If you're meant to do a Bedika, if you have this feeling, to make sure it's either your period or it's not, or something else. Here it is now. Most women nowadays can have another two types of feeling. One would be just wetness from the outside. If you feel like wetness or some mucus just on the outside between the lips, that's totally nothing halachically. But then there's women who can feel some discharge running down, flowing down their vagina. If you feel something flowing down the vagina, what do you do about it? So here, I'm giving you the standard halachic opinion, although there are varieties of leniencies and stringencies. The standard is the first 3 times in your marriage that you have this feeling of the discharge running down your vagina, do a Bedika. And after 3 times you prove it has nothing to do with your period, then for the rest of your life, you could ignore this type of feeling. This type, unless there's a new type of feeling, you understand? But this type of feeling you could ignore because you proved halachically that this feeling is associated with nothing that has to do with bleeding at all. Okay? Now, not every Rav holds by this opinion, so this is something you have to consult your Rav about. But don't say, I feel hargasha, because that's only the true feeling of the onset of your period. And no other time do you have this feeling, only at the moment that the period began, and no other time till the next month, etc. Obviously, if it's after relations and you feel what's dripping out, you know what it is. You don't have to go do Bedikas and find out what that is. So this is, and by the way, back to the toilet paper, do not do a Bedika after you find blood on toilet paper either. Okay? No Bedikas for this either. Now comes the next. Another way a woman can become Nida is called psichas harechem, which is the opening up of the uterus, which would come from stretching apart or dilating the opening, the cervix. You cannot do it to yourself. You're not opening yourself up. Okay, this happens by labor, by birth, or by artificial means through certain medical procedures. And a woman who experiences this opening up of the womb will become Nida even if there's no blood. How does that apply today? So first, let's talk about doctor's visits. Now, if it's a he or a she, there is a letter from the Rebbe that women may feel more comfortable with a female because they feel more emotionally connected or psychologically felt understood by a female rather than a male. On the other hand, if you're more secure with the expertise of the male, it's perfectly fine to use a male medical professional. So that's really up to you. If you do use a male professional, you have to know the laws of yichud. I don't know how it works here in New Jersey. I know in New York City for sure, I know, but New York State, doctor's not allowed to be alone with a female patient if they're having an exam. It's illegal as well. Okay. A female attendant, okay, because of harassment, not because of halacha, but so we're safe in New Jersey as well. But if any of you move out of a different state, not necessarily is this a rule, and you'll have to know the laws of yichud if you have a male.
Even if it's a female doctor, she must have +7%
Even wow, beautiful. Okay, good. Whatever the case is. Okay, for the laws of yichud. Another thing I want to tell you is as follows, and because there's people here that are watching that are not necessarily from communities, I want to explain something that I came across in my way many, many times. And that is, we women, if you want, we want to list our vital organs, of course, the brain, the heart, the lungs, etc. For us, the uterus is a vital organ because in order to fulfill the mitzvah of purvu, we need to have a very healthy uterus. Out there in the world, once a woman has a baby or two, like the uterus becomes like who needs like babies. Not really. So they may choose, okay, medical treatments that not necessarily will preserve 100% fertility. They're doing what's easier, or actually I should say what the insurance companies tell you to do. But we have to make sure that the choices that we make are there to preserve our fertility. It won't leave scar tissue. What are the, so always ask if you're out there, if you're faced with a medical issue and there's a remedy to it, ask, how will this affect my fertility? Okay, that's number one, because not necessarily is this taken into account out there. I had a few situations where shluchos actually, there's a very kind doctor who deals with fertility issues and other medical issues in Brooklyn that I got to know. He's so kind. He lets shluchos email all their, their tests and results, and he'll say, no, that's not a good idea if you want to have kids. I'll tell you something else to explore. And I know shluchos who went ahead to be healthy and had babies after. You understand? You have to be careful that the choices are not dictated by the medical insurance, but they're dictated by what will help us fulfill the mitzvah purvu to the best of our ability for the most years to come. Another thing you have to be careful as far as if you have a doctor that does not deal with from patients. Medical staining and halachic staining are two different languages. Medical staining is considered that it's so inconvenient for the woman that instead of a panty liner, she would have to use pads. Thank you very much. For a from woman, staining means a tiny speck of blood on a Bedika cloth. That discounts she has to start all over again. So from doctors will know if they prescribe hormones or something like that. Number one, they'll know which ones are more effective for a from woman to keep her tahara for the longest. And therefore, the Tahara Mishpacha will help guide a woman who doesn't have a doctor that knows this on their own. Or there's this type of IUD, that type of IUD, which one is better? Out there, they don't know. From women have to be wise in their choice making because of the repercussions that could happen with staining, etc. Or another example would be when we say, oh, I'm staining for so long, I can't get to the mikvah. That doctor has no idea why, how our quality of life is totally affected by this. He's saying, oh, you're within 2 years of birth. Yeah, you could stain a little, what's a big deal, go home, But for us, we have to emphasize, no, it's a big deal because it affects our marriage relationship. And we want to search earlier for remedies rather than waiting. Sometimes a girl says, oh, I went to the doctor. Oh, he said it's nothing for 2 years. So for 2 years, she's suffering because the doctor said it's okay? No, we don't suffer. We make sure that we try to find solutions so we can be tahiros for longer. Okay, who's the dicta teacher over there? I want to get the sticker. Okay, so that is about just other things about choosing a doctor. So when you have your exam, okay, now, look, we said that the shailos can happen when there's an opening of this area. Now, a regular exam, the speculum, does it go up here? It's only in here. Does using a speculum make a woman niddah? No. Do you want to look at it to see, is there any blood on it? No. Don't look at it. You understand? How about a culture? You know, the throat culture, the vaginal culture, does it go in here? No. It's just over here, wiping the surfaces. Is there any strep or whatever else? Does it make you niddah? No. Do you want to see if there's anything on it? No, you're so timid. No, of course not. You don't need to look. If you don't need to look, don't look. You understand? Unless the Rav tells you, look. Otherwise, don't look. Ignore. Okay, now a pap smear. The pap smear, as they do it today, and I don't know if they're going to change their method tomorrow, because when I got married, it was really different how a pap smear was done. I don't know who's old as me. I feel so old over here. But anyways, that little brush that they twist over here, they just take off outer cells of the cervix. Now, this normally does not cause any bleeding, but if it does, what kind of bleeding is that? Where is it coming from? The outer cervix. That's not Niddah blood. So a regular pap smear will not make you Niddah. However, do not time it on a day that you have to do a Bedika, either in the 7 clean days or when you're expecting your period. Because if you do find blood on it, what do you have now? A whole shaila. Because if it's a from doctor, it's one set of circumstances because he could bear witness, I see where the blood is coming from, so it's okay. But if it's a not from doctor, could you trust them? If it's a goy, could you trust them? You understand? So to avoid shaila, it's just a practical tip. Do not time the pap smear on a day you have to do a Bedika, you'll avoid shailas. Now I want to add another little detail. You don't have to have a pap smear exactly when they want you to have one. It's easier for them and for the medical insurance, you understand? You could say, I'll come back next week. Like, you own your body, that's what I want to tell. Some people are so timid, but the doctor said, you own your body, okay? And you treat it that this mitzvah taharas mishpacha, you get to the mikveh, number one. The pap smear will wait for number two. I want to add another detail. Sometimes a woman will be asked to come back for a second pap smear, to recheck. If that happens to you, don't fret. It's not the end of the world. It's just a recheck. A lot of those rechecks are totally fine. But that method is different and make you Nida. So for the second pap smear, you have to ask a shaila how to handle that. Okay? If you come in that situation. Now, insertion or removal of an IUD does make Nida. Okay? Next. Other medical procedures usually are either planned because something's going wrong and you want to figure this out, or you are actively bleeding right now and you want to figure out why you're Nida. So usually either you're Nida anyways, so whatever they do, you don't have to be concerned with. But if it's planned, you have to ask your Rav how to handle this. Because some procedures where they enter the cervix, some testing, some all kinds, can make a woman Nida even if there's no blood. And sometimes you're bleeding and it's not Nida blood. So you have to give the Rav the name of the test, and the Rav will tell you what to do about it. Okay? If you plan in advance, it's always best. Now, if you're in a situation that you didn't plan in advance, you showed up for your regular visit, and your doctor says, oh my, I have to check something out right now. This is whatever, emergency. So what do? You can't call the Rav on the spot. If it's a firm doctor, you're lucky. If it's not a firm doctor or a non-Jew, you have to ask the doctor, when can my rabbi get in touch with you? Tell me the name of the procedure, but my rabbi may have more questions about this. Okay? And you exchange the phone numbers so you could figure out what it is. But the Rav will want to know if there's any bleeding. If it's a from doctor, you could ask him, do you see any bleeding? And are you sure you know where it's coming from, or you think it may be coming from there? It may be a difference if it's for sure or it's a maybe. If it's a not from doctor or a guy, you'll have to do that checking yourself. That means you have to do a Bedika to see if there's blood. You have to look at the instruments to see if there's blood. And so we'll make these procedures that go higher up, not down here. Again, you don't really have to be concerned much about it because they usually don't just happen out of the blue. It's usually planned. Now, why do I tell you to ask a shaila whenever you're having any procedure other than the regular internal exams? Because things may come up that you may not be even aware of that the Rav will point out to you. Interesting situations. Sometimes they insert dyes, and then you're leaking a dye and you're not sure what to do about that color, especially if it's your 7 clean days. You want to already count your 7 clean days and there's other colors mixed in. Let's say, shh, what? It doesn't matter. No, not yet. Okay. Now, thank you. But I want to give you another detail. Sometimes a woman needs a certain procedure, dafka, closer ovulation, right before or during the 7 clean days, and she knows that will make her Nida. So she says, you know something, why should I bother doing a Hefsek Tahara? Because anyways, I won't be able to have my 7-day count. It's going to be interrupted by this procedure, and I'm going to have to start all over again. And the Rav will point out to her that you have to do a Hefsek Tahara at the end of your period regardless, because for our calendar, we have to know when our period's over. And if we're going to wait an extra 3 days because we're having a test, our calendar will be inaccurate. The haflaga will be inaccurate. So you have to do one Hefsek Tahara because your period's over. And then, once the procedure is over, you do the new Hefsek Tahara, and then you count your 7 clean days. I'm just giving you an example that it's always best to ask a Rav. I'm having this procedure, what should I know about it? The same thing, if you have a heter to use birth control, every method has a shaila that comes along with it in halacha. So you go back, if your Rav says use anyone, whatever the doctor says, go back and say, I'm using this method. Is there anything in halacha I should be aware of it? And I'm not going to go through each one, but each one has a little, you have the nuva ring, should you take it out when you do your Hefsek Tahara, do you take it out when you toivel, etc. IUD, what do I do with the staining, what about the string, do I have to clean the string before I toivel, if it's hormones, what do I do with staining, how does it affect my calendar, like some things you wouldn't even think about, but it's always best to make sure that all bases are covered sort of halachically, okay? So that is about doctor's visits. During labor, a woman will become Nida. You have to ask your Rav a shaila, at what point in labor will I become Nida? There are variations, and you have to have clarity, because the moment you're Nida, guess what? All the dinei harchaka apply, unless, of course, there's a pikuach nefesh situation or whatever, but we don't plan for that. If you're Nida, that's why you have your midwife your doula, your mother, your someone to go along with you, so your husband, to avoid your husband doing things unnecessarily. You understand? You plan for it, but you have to review those dinim. They apply right away. You should, by the way, you should also ask a shaila, at what point in the labor does my husband not belong in the room anymore? Okay? That is about the labor. Now we have miscarriage and birth. Both make nida. Miscarriage will make nida. You have to ask a shaila about a miscarriage, what to do about your calendar. If it's an early miscarriage, you also would ask for any miscarriage, but make sure that you will go to the mikveh at the right time. So if you have a miscarriage, you should ask a shaila, is there any restrictions with when I get to the mikveh? And what to do with the calendar, how it affects the calendar. Okay? So that is about a miscarriage. I was also asked to share feedback from Rabbanim, which again is not necessarily how you become Nida, as long as we're talking about miscarriages, some misinformation. Some information that people don't know till it's too late. If the fetus is fully formed, it needs a burial. Okay? So some people didn't know that and would have loved to know that before. And another thing is, if the fetus, usually they say, if the fetus already has grown to 10, 12 week size. Now, often the fetus already has stopped growing earlier, that even though you're carrying it 12 weeks, but it's only a 9-week fetus. So the doctor could see, whoever is doing it could see if it's fully formed. And if you're at home doing a natural miscarriage, it's usually only earlier than that, when 6 weeks or whatever, which is not fully formed. Usually a doctor wouldn't want you to be home if it's at that stage already. But ask your Rav. Another thing is, I don't know how it is in New Jersey. I assume it's just like in New York nowadays, that they'll never do a DNC without a good ultrasound. But all of your shluchas are living who knows where around the world. Never ever agree to have a DNC without a good ultrasound, because you never really know what's going on inside. A DNC is there's a procedure that the doctor actually removes the lining of the uterus with whatever's in it. Just very quick, easy. They put you to sleep for 10 minutes and they just give a little scrape. And some people prefer to do a miscarriage that way instead of a natural or spontaneous miscarriage. I mean, that's in an early stage because whatever, maybe they don't want surprises, they don't want to deal with extra bleeding. And sometimes here in modern medicine, it's standard procedure. They make sure that the baby's actually not alive and there's no twin. You know, that one could be bleeding and the twin could be alive, you know? So that's the situation that can happen. So in New York, for sure it's fine, but because we're talking to around the world, I don't know what goes on in Russia and in China and in those kind of cities. So that's about a miscarriage. Childbirth makes a woman Nida. Even a cesarean birth makes a woman Nida, and you will bleed. Now, if you're having a planned cesarean, you can ask a shaila at what point you become Nida. That is an interesting shaila. But I do want to tell you about after birth, okay? Some Rabbanim do not want you to go to the mikvah after birth if it's Shabbos or Yom Tov. That means because it's not mamish the end, it's not like a period is less, and it's over, right? Sometimes it's a little guessing game, like, is it really over? Should I try today to have Tahara? Should I try tomorrow? Some Rabbanim prefer that you don't do a Tahara on Friday to go to mikvah on a Friday night or on a night of Yom Tov. Okay, some yes, some no. You ask your Rav. It's just want an awareness. Average time for a woman to go to the mikveh after birth could be between 5 and 10 weeks, for example. Okay, sometimes after 6 weeks, some herbs could help to strengthen the uterus. But if the bleeding is schlepping, and it just happened to somebody, like, because this keeps happening, and again, how rare this is or how common, I cannot tell you statistics, because I can only tell you anecdotal evidence of things that come my way, which is usually the problems, not the healthy stuff. So I can't tell you. But I can tell you that if the bleeding just doesn't seem to end, it's already 11 weeks, 12 weeks, etc., it could very well be that there's a little piece of something in the uterus, a piece of the placenta or something else that is just not coming out properly, and that the doctor will only notice this with a ultrasound, okay, which they don't do at a 6-week checkup. So, don't let anyone say, oh, you're staining, you're breastfeeding, you're staining. It was already like, I would say, 11 weeks, 12 weeks, and you're still staining, or, have it checked out. Plenty of women, that bleeding would have never stopped. I just had this over Shabbos. Over the week, today, I don't know what day of the week it is. Tuesday. And this woman was thinking, staining. I said, check it out. Doesn't seem normal. And then she called me today. She was at her doctor, and actually she had a little polyp. and he did a DNC, and now she'll be able to soon count her days, So take matters in your own hands. Some doctors, I don't know how it works here in New Jersey. I used to know in New York, the insurance companies, the doctors are so busy. The paperwork probably takes more time than the actual visit. And they're sometimes a little lazy with really paying attention to you. And some midwives are even, it's not their job. They take care of helping you through a pregnancy and labor, but as soon as something's a little off, they say, well, I don't know. So please take care of your health, okay? That is childbirth. And then one more thing, how a woman can become Nida is a woman's word is very trusted, okay? Just like when you come up from the mikveh, you say, I am Tahara, or I toiveled, or he could ask you, did you toivel? And you say, yes, my dear, my love, okay? So the same thing, if a woman says, I am Nida, she almost said, she gave a psak on herself, I'm Nida. If you have a shaila, say, I may be Nida, I have a shaila, okay? Don't worry, if you made a mistake, it's okay, it could happen. But chas v'shalom, a woman does this to spite her husband, which has much worse problems than just the din of Taharas Mishpacha, obviously. But just be careful with your words. Sometimes saying a woman is Nida may actually get her into the Nida status, okay? I just want to say one more thing, going back to the toilet paper. I know this happens, I just also have this, whatever is a recent story, like you'll hear about whenever I speak, because I feel bad. A woman will say, oh, I feel so bad. I looked at my toilet paper. I wasn't supposed to. I knew I wasn't supposed to. And I need to have to count 5 and 7. I feel terrible. So my response is, welcome to the club of reality. Every woman, if you didn't make this mistake yet, you will make it. I'm just letting you know. I hope it just happens at the right time in your life where you can laugh it off. But if you did look at the toilet paper and you did make yourself Nida, welcome to the club. You'll count your days. You have an extra chance to do the mitzvah of tefillah. They just threw in another mitzvah in your lap that you weren't counting on. Okay? Another chance to toivel, okay? And you'll live happily ever after. And that is totally, totally fine. In fact, I just have to add, I'm so much not saying in Ashkafa that I'm already platzing. See, I have to keep my hands behind my back. I just want to tell you, answer, where's my phone? I don't even know where it is. Okay, forget it. If you want to have the exact nusach, I'll share it with Chasi. Maybe Mirza Shem and she could pass it on to the group. But somebody I know, one of my acquaintances, she was so nervous about the mitzvah Taharas Mishpacha, and the Rav told her she's Tahara, and she said, no, I don't think, I can't be, I'm Nida, and she was, it was hard. And then she wasn't getting pregnant, she was already married a year, and for sure it's because she's missing something in Taharas Mishpacha. And then she wrote a letter to the Rebbe, and she poured out her heart that it must be something she must be doing wrong, and the Rav says it's okay, but it can't be, and that's why she's not having her children. And the Rebbe gave such a beautiful answer, which again, because I don't know it by heart, so something in this vein, but don't quote me word for word. The Rebbe said, first of all, if a Rav gives you a psak, you trust the Rav's psak, and not only do you trust it, but Ivdu as Hashem b'simcha was said equally to men as to women. And because this is a mitzvah, it has to be done b'simcha. So if the Rav tells you something, don't start questioning, for better, for worse, accept Hashem's will, b'simcha. That's number one. Number 2, the Rebbe writes, Loi nitna ha-Torah l'malachei yashares ela lebasar adam or l'vnei adam or something like that. The Torah wasn't given to angels. The Torah was given to human beings. Okay? And you know what that means to us? A tiny mistake will happen. We're human beings. We have to review the halachos, of course. We're not being negligent. But it happens that by accident you bumped into your husband, you didn't realize how fat you got. There was no space, or whatever. You know what happens? It's whatever it is. Like, let's just be positive. We're trying our best. We're doing our reviews. We're reviewing with our husband, and we're not being negligent. And if a mistake happens, hopefully it's only minor, and next time we'll do better. You understand? But the anxiety involved, and then the Rebbe benched her for children, and Baruch Hashem, she started her family. But I thought it was very important. Some of you are sitting here, and I see your faces, and you're not very smiley. So I just want to tell you that you're not becoming Nida from all the above reasons all in one day or all in 1 minute, or hopefully not even in one lifetime, okay? But we have to do all the possibilities, which is I personally do not start kol classes with this shir because I feel I'm going to scare everybody away and they may never come back. No, whatever. They'll do it. So now we're going to move on to the next part. I prefer to have all the questions at the end. I just want to see what time it is. Perfect, 1 hour, great. So we're going to do Hefsek, Tahara, and Shiva Nekiyim now, okay? So now that we're Nida, what comes next? And then we will give time for questions. Now, Chasi, you're going to have to be the monitor over here. I don't want to talk too fast because it's such an important part of Taharas Mishpacha is how one does a Hefsek Tahara and counts the 17 clean days properly. But I'm not going to look at my time. You tell me if I need to stop for questions.
What time do you want to start for questions?
I want to leave 10 o'clock, so you count backwards.
If someone has a question, please write it down on a piece of paper, hand it to me, and I can give it all to her at one time.
Okay.
And I will walk around the room. Also, if you do need to walk, please try to walk in front of the camera. No.
Okay. You could get up. Should we just breathe, take a snack, and come back, or should I just start talking? Talk. Okay. If you want to move and get a snack, do it quietly. It's fine with me. It's not like a classroom. Okay? Now, for whatever reason, a woman becomes Nida. It doesn't matter if it was a full-blown period, if it was toilet paper, and I want to emphasize this again and again and again and again. For whatever reason, a woman becomes Nida, there's a 5-step process in order for her to achieve Tahara. Number 1 is a 5-day waiting period. Even if you became Nida from a simple stain, you cannot do anything until you wait the 5 days. Should I say it again? Okay, remember, it doesn't matter if you're pregnant, it doesn't matter if you're nursing, it doesn't matter what situation you are in life, okay? If you are Nida, you have to wait a minimum of those 5 days. That's step number 1. And we're soon going to discuss how do we count days. So number 1, a 5-day waiting period. Number 2, how do I prove the bleeding is over or the flow is over? Check my toilet paper? No. The halachic procedure to prove the bleeding is over is called the Hefsek Tahara. After that, we have 7 consecutive clean days. It's called Shiva Nikiyim. Then we have cleaning our body and checking our body. That's called Chafifa. And then we have Tvila, which is a kosher Tvila in a kosher mikvah. You need both. You have to have a kosher Tvila, and the mikvah itself has got to be a kosher mikvah. What happens when you come out of that mikvah? What are you now? Tahara. Thank you. Can never be tahar. What? 5-day waiting period. Hefsek Tahara. 7 consecutive clean days. Chafifa. And Tvila. Are you okay? Great. Okay. So how do we count the day? Okay. For this mitzvah of Taharas Mishpacha, the day begins and the day ends at sunset. Okay? Sunset is the cutoff between today and tomorrow. So let's say today, Shkia sunset was 4:30. I'm just giving an example. If I got my period today, Tuesday, before sunset, before 4:30, then I got my period on Tuesday. If I got my period after sunset, I got my period on Wednesday. Okay? Now, how do I count the day? So let's say I got my period right before sunset on Tuesday. Even though it was just for a minimal amount of time, it's still considered day 1. So it's not 5 times 24 hours. It is a partial day. Even if it's a small portion of the day, is still considered day 1. So in this situation, I'd rather get my period on Wednesday today. So I got my period on Wednesday, actually. I got my period for this example. I got my period right now. Standing and over here. I got my period. So now is it after sunset? What? It's after sunset. So what day of the week is it? It is Wednesday. So now let's do the counting. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos, Sunday. Sunday before sunset, I do the Hefsek Tahara. If I think my period is over, I want to say something loud and clear. Many healthy people have 6 or 7 day periods. You understand? The halacha talks about 5 days, but don't fret. If on the 5th day it's red, guess what? You're not doing a Hefsek Tahara if it's red. You're not taking 1,000 baths and cleaning, whatever, and then the next day you do a Bedika and it's red, and you go, oh, hello, reality. If it's red, wait till the next day. But if you think it's already, now I want to do something in the opposite extreme. When you do a Hefsek Tahara, not when your period is over. You do a Hefsek Tahara as soon as the color transitions from absolute red to the pinkish brownish. If it's already pinkish brownish, you'll do your Hefsek Tahara and you'll ask a shaila. And then the Rav, if it's no good, you say, should I even bother next time doing a Hefsek Tahara if I see this color?
You mean that's on the 5th day?
On the 5th day. If it's red, skip it.
You don't have to ask a Rav that question.
No. If it's red, you don't have to ask a Rav. If it's pinkish brownish, you do a Hefsek Tahara, but if the color will come out pink or brown, that's a shaila. Now you could, if it's no good, You could ask a Rav, if I see this color again, should I even bother doing a Hefsek Tahara on day 5? Should I just wait for day 6? Okay? But don't wait till it's yellow to do a Hefsek Tahara, because a lot of the pre-yellows, a lot of the light browns, or even not so light browns, could be perfectly kosher halachically. So you don't have to wait. Don't wait till it's yellow. When those transition colors already start, you do your Hefsek Tahara. Okay? How does one do a Hefsek Tahara? 4 steps to Hefsek Tahara. Now, number 1, oh boy, so I'll need like an hour for questions. Okay. Number 1, washing. So here's the list. I'm a big list maker. My kids know there's lists everywhere. And not on my phone. 4 steps to Hefsek Tahara. Washing, Bedika, white underwear, meichtachok, in that order. Washing, Bedika, white underwear, meichtachok. So start with the washing. The purpose of the washing is to remove the residue of your period, okay? So the custom is that we take a shower before we do the Hefsek Tahara, paying special attention, of course, to the area between your lips and the area, the vaginal area. I want to tell you something. You must have a beautiful bathroom for Hiddur mitzvah. When you step into your bathroom to do this Hefsek Tahara, you're like, whoa, I love this. This is such a beautiful mitzvah. You don't want to like run away from your bathroom. So please invest in all the accessories to make you feel like I'm a chaya. Because you will, besides great lighting, you have to look at a Bedika cloth. So it's not everybody has sunlight. I don't know, over here everybody has windows, fantastic. You have plenty of sunlight, so I don't have to worry about that. But, a handheld shower, it's so easy to wash right over there. Because if you stand in the shower, not always could you make this fancy little dance that the water lands in the strong flow exactly where you need it, whatever. But that's what counts the most. Make it practical, okay? Now, let's talk a little bit more practical. So the washing is there to remove the discharge, to remove the remainder of your period. Halachically, you don't have to take a bath. A shower is what you take. Now, some women will feel that a bath, what kind of women? The women that already had some babies and their vaginal walls are very, very not nice and stiff, but they're like, And what could happen with such vaginal walls? Some of the discharge could actually get stuck here or there, and they don't make it out before Shkia, and they feel if they sit in a bath, they could clean out better on the inside, and they'll come out with a clean Bedika, because what's left there is really old stuff. It just got stuck on the way out. So it's not halacha to take a bath. There's no reason to take a bath unless you personally feel the bath will wash out better on the inside, because even standing in the shower, it's harder really to kind of get in there if you're removing whatever extra will be for you. Now, guess what? Shkia now is, let's say, 4:30 plus or minus here in Morristown. You're doing carpool or you're at work. You're not running out of work taking showers or baths or anything, okay? You could take a perfect shower in the morning, take a good shower in the morning, and you take along with you in your ever-expanding purse some wipes. It doesn't have to be fancy feminine wipes that cost $1 a piece. It could be like baby wipes in a Ziploc or whatever. Do not rely on that bathroom at your place of work that has stiff, cheap paper towel and you're going to hurt yourself. So take along what you need. Then you could actually in the morning even put on your white underwear with a nice panty liner. And then after your Bedika, you just remove the panty liner. And what do you have now? Nice, clean underwear. Okay? And and of course you take along some Bedika cloths. And if you want, irrelevant, because it's your Nida, you're bleeding anyways. Oh, right, okay. And now, you don't even need such a big purse. You could have, especially fat people like me, you could have Bedika cloths here, this over here, whatever. You can put anywhere. So you could even go free. You're on your hike. You could take everything along, okay? But why am I telling you this? Because I've heard from women, I was on a hike. I knew I wouldn't be able to do it, so I just waited for the next day. First of all, you never delay mikvah. That's a whole no hashkafa here, but never do it unless it's necessary. Don't do it but also your calendar has to be accurate. If you're delaying your Hefsek Tahara, it means you're delaying your calendar will be inaccurate. So you do the washing. I'll tell you a little secret. If there was no time to do the washing, you meant to, but it got a little hectic and it was getting late, you could skip the washing. I mean, the washing is there for your benefit to have a cleaner Bedika, okay? How do we do washing on Shabbos? You cannot take a shower on Shabbos. You could sit over the toilet and spritz and a squirt, like a Sports Gap water bottle with warm water that you took from, you could use tap water and it'll tickle you, but if you want to use warm water, you could take from the hot water kettle that you preheated on Shabbos and you mix it with, how you do on Shabbos, and you could squirt it over the toilet if you want to wash on the inside. I will just tell you practically, even the rabbis that allow baby wipes to wipe your baby's diaper, it's usually not wet enough. Those Shabbos wipes are usually not wet enough to really clean any discharge that could have collected from your shower the day before, okay? So that's the washing on Shabbos. And so too on Yom Kippur, you do minimal washing the way you do it on Shabbos. Yom Tif, you can use tap water. If you can use tap water for your dishes, you could use tap water, and you don't have to use preheated water, Shabbos water, whatever. Yom Tif, some Rabbanim allow on Yom Tif for you to stand in a shower stall or in a bathtub stall and just not take a full shower for this purpose, but just you could use a shower head just to wash where you need to instead of doing it, another way. You could ask your Rav if he allows that. And that is about washing on Yom Tif, Tisha B'Av, also minimal washing, just the minimal area that you need as you will do on Shabbos or Yom Kippur. Okay, just the minimal area, that private area, just to remove any residue of any discharge, that is the washing. Now, some people get very dry after using hot water. Okay, if you're the type that you don't have so much moisture in your vagina, you're one of the drier types, and taking a shower, and certainly a bath, would dry you out, then you should wait to make the Bedika easier. You wait, this is not halacha, but it's a good tip, because if you wait about 15 minutes, your natural discharge, your natural moisture will be replenished, and it'll be easier to do a smoother Bedika if you're one of those sensitive types. I just want to say, if you douche, you must wait. Halachically, if you douche, in order to clean yourself out, you must wait a certain amount of time before you do a Bedika. You cannot do it one right after the other. Ask your rabbi. So that is the washing. After the washing, we are going to do a Bedika. Now, the Bedika is the most important part of the Hefsek Tahara. That means if you didn't do the washing and you didn't do the white underwear, but you did the Bedika, you may have a totally kosher Hefsek Tahara after the fact. Okay? So in order to do a proper Bedika, make sure your finger's clean. If you put your nail polish on and you're like, I don't know if it's so dry, make sure, you have a cut, use the other finger. You have two fingers here, one or two, make sure you have, Baruch Hashem, it's easier to use this. Start with this, then with that or that, okay? Now it's 4 choices, you should be fine. And you wrap a clean Bedika cloth. The Bedika cloths that are ready-made, they gotta be pre-checked. It has to be an 8 baduk, a pre-checked cloth. Either you could check it right before you use it, you could check the whole cloth if you want in sunlight, but it should be pre-checked. I suggest that especially the pack that you have in your purse that you can do bedikas out and about, you for sure should pre-check before, because you never know if you'll have sufficient lighting when you need to use it on the spot. Okay?
Don't they always
They say pre-check on.
Yeah. So I'm saying you could pre-check right before you do the bedika if you have good lighting, but sometimes you may be in a bathroom. I'm telling you,
pre-check in sunlight, not in the bathroom?
best is in sunlight. It's always best in sunlight, but if you even didn't do it in sunlight, you should check it before.
We have to check it.
You should pre-check. You should pre-check.
It says pre-checked on it.
There's no pre-checked Bedika cloth that I know of. It says inspect before use. Which company makes inspect? You should inspect it before use.
But they were already pre-washed.
Pre-washed. They're supposed to be soft and laundered. Okay, so check them. Okay, you could quickly check it before you use it. Or if it's in your purse and you're at home, you know where the sun is, etc. But if you're out and about, some bathrooms are they keep them clean by dimming the lights and putting air freshener, in the gas station. Where where we land up doing bedikas, any time, any place? Okay. So make sure that's pre-checked, okay? And you have a clean surface to put this bedika cloth on. You take it out, you want to put it down. As you pull up your panties, where are you putting it down, okay? And don't drop it in the toilet either. So a clean surface, you're going to wrap your bedika cloth around your entire finger or most of the finger, okay? If you have very long fingers, they do sell extra large to make it simpler to wrap around. But it's not just the tip of your fingers wrapped. Most of your fingers should be wrapped in this bedika cloth. And now you're going to insert your finger gently inside your vagina. It says in halacha to put 1 foot over the other, leaning forward, 1 foot higher, not over, higher, like on the toilet bowl closed or something, and stretch forward. And like this, you could insert your finger gently in the vagina and wipe. Now, I just want to tell you a proper bedika. This is not a proper bedika. I think I missed that part. Actually, over here I need to do again. Actually, I don't think I did over here on the bottom. Actually, up there, I think I didn't go hard enough. And what happens after that? You start bleeding from the bedika. That's not a kosher bedika. Now, is this a kosher bedika? Not either. So, how do you do a kosher bedika? The entire surface, the circumference over here, all the surfaces of this vagina, okay? Okay, you have to be wiped only one time. Okay, so to do this properly, there's no halacha. I'm just being practical as a woman. If you just concentrate a little bit, that's it. Go up to the top. You can start milmaila lamata or milmata, whatever, however holy you want to be. But if you start from the top, okay, first do the top part, press round and round, and you feel those little bumps and stuff. You know yourself. It's not so nice and stiff. Go a little bit lower, do the middle, and then do the bottom. Or start from the bottom and do it up and up. So like this, you concentrated. All you did was the entire circumference. You got all the areas wiped one time, and that's it, okay? You gently take your finger out, unwrap the cloth, put it, and then you're going to look at it and see, preferably, of course, in daylight. And for you girls, there's probably no excuse. Look at all these windows. I probably have exactly that amount of windows in the entire house. Oh, no? You have a bedroom? You don't even have windows in your bedroom?
Oh, yeah.
No, the bath, no.
Okay, so you have a bedroom. Okay. Oh, listen, if you don't have daylight, just use any good lighting and make sure it's totally clean, okay? Girls, listen. If it hurts you to do a bedika with a dry bedika cloth, there are options of lubricating a bedika cloth, but you have to ask your Rav which kind of lubricant he prefers or actually forbids. So don't just assume what you learned in college classes 10 years ago apply for you today as a married woman, what your Rav paskins, okay? But there are options. A bedika should not hurt you. So we did a bedika. If you see on it a color that's questionable, and this is only for the Hefsek Tahara, just, discard it. And you could do another one. And you could do another one. And actually, there's no restrictions. You could do as many as you want, as long as you got that last one came clean, and it was before sunset, you've got a clean bedika. That's theoretical. Practically speaking, if you're going to keep doing one bedika, another bedika, and it's still kind of questionable color, what is the reality? You still have that color coming from your body. Stop. This is the color you're dealing with. Okay? Sometimes if you overdo it, you're going to create a bleeding situation. Okay? I'm not going to tell you 3, 5, 7, 9, 113. You'll know you as a woman once, twice. I would say my personal suggestion is once, twice, 3 times already. This is the chazaka. This is what's coming out of your body. This is your status right now. Now there may be times for fertility you want to chaparayim because if you go to mikvah a day later, you'll miss your ovulation. There's some halachic situations where Rav may advise you just keep doing those bedikas, until you get a clean one. Take a bath, but let the Rav advise you if you should keep on trying again and again and again till you hit clean. Okay? So that is, you have a clean bedika. Or almost clean. Even if it's questionable, even if it's almost clean, proceed to step number 3. What's step number 3? A pair of white underwear. Thongs is not considered halachically underwear. I remember the first time a girl asked me about white thongs. In my days, thongs were flip-flops, and I'm thinking, what am I teaching? They think they have to go on the 7 clean days in white flip-flops. And then I learned something called thongs, and the Rav was shown it, and it's not considered underwear. Okay? Yes. Thongs. No, you don't have to have hipsters all the way to here and legs all the way to there, but the main part of you definitely should be covered with totally white underwear, not just white in the crotch. It's got to be white all around, okay? Some Rabbanim prefer if that stamp of the size, now there's tagless underwear, that black stamp, if it's a little higher up, not just like bottom, it's probably preferable, but not everybody holds it like that because clearly this is a stamp. It's not coming from you, but it's something that you could consider as part of your choices. So you put on this white pair of underwear, and now step number 4 is called moich dachok. And moich, by the way, spelled memvav langechof, not the memvav ches. Moich with a lang. Yeah, memvav langechof, dachok. It means a stuffed-in cloth. We take a bedika cloth. In the olden days, they saved their bedika cloth. They didn't want to they had to rewash it. So, but you take a bedika cloth and you just now. Here's the thing. You don't need a wipe all around. This you just gently put inside, all the way up your vagina, as best as you can, wiggle out your finger, and you leave it there from before sunset till after nightfall. I just want to tell you, the Chabad.org/Zmanim has the accurate Zmanim according to Chabad. They're different than, Shkia is the same, usually, but the Tzeitzach Chavim is much different. It's much shorter. It's really 30 minutes, not really the 40 minutes or the 45 minutes. So the Moich Dachok, you use the Chabad.org/Zmanim, and you leave it from before Shkia till after Tzeis, and you leave it there. And then you take it out, and you look at it, and the custom is to check it again by daylight the next morning, keep it in a safe place. At night, when we go to sleep, we put a white sheet on our mattress. This is still how we practice today. There are different hidurim of using, in addition to the white sheet on your mattress, of using a white top sheet as well, of using a white pajama top, nightgown, using white pajama pants, and there are various variations of these added hidurim. You could check with your Rav if you should have white pajama pants, a white nightgown, or a white top sheet. This used to be standard before the days of underwear, and the original generation of underwear was boxer shorts. So a standard that women were surrounded by white, there wasn't even pajama pants existing in those days. So they had a white nightgown because they weren't wearing underwear or wearing very loose underwear, and they had white on the top, white on the bottom, white everywhere. But now that we have, again, if you're wearing thongs, it's like no underwear, so then you would need all those extra whites. But because you were wearing fitted underwear, how much more to go? We do have a white sheet on our mattress, all those extra whites, you could ask your Rav if it's a hiddur for you. Some are more great advice to yes do it, and some make it more lighter. So that's between you and the Rav. Okay, that's at night when we go into bed. And for the entire 7 days, you're having white underwear and white sheets on your bed. Now let's backtrack a little bit. So today I'm doing a Hefsek Tahara. It was whatever day of the week it was, I forgot. And actually, I am running late. Shkia is 4:30 and is 4:28. Do I have time to wash? Forget it. I'll just take a tissue or a wipe and just wipe whatever's there out, And I know that if I do a Bedika and take it out, I may miss the time of Shkia to put the Morristown in before Shkia. I could do 2 steps in one. Meaning, I wrap my finger around the Bedika cloth in a way that I could get my finger out of it. And I wipe everything, and then I just leave it there. And I take out my finger. 2 steps in one. And then if it comes out clean, retroactively, what was it? A kosher Bedika as well, not just the Morristown. You cannot just put in a Morristown that does not count for a Bedika. But you could double up, A, if you're running late, or if you want to have an extra try of a better Bedika, but either you're afraid every time you go in and out, you make yourself dry. So you can use this final opportunity when your finger is going in anyways to do an entire proper wipe of a Bedika, and then you double up and you leave it there, and then it's considered Bedika plus Morristown, and it could count as the kosher Hefsek Tahara. If you do not have white underwear for whatever reason, or white sheet,